Hello everyone, welcome to the group YouTube channel. This is going to be the first video review that I ever do, and I hope you enjoy it. If you follow my blog, you saw that the first gun review I did was on the Sig Sauer M11A1. So I figured it would be fitting for my first video review to be on the M11A1. This gun was released by Sig Sauer in 2012, and it's a reproduction of the classic P228, which was released in 1988. So, 1988, okay, what's going on then? Alright, I think it was 1985, a few years earlier, Sig Sauer had lost the military handgun trials to the Beretta 92. And the Beretta 92 became the standard military sidearm, and still in use today. So, why did the P226 lose against the Beretta 92? Well, the 226 was too expensive. You know, some specialized units eventually took on the Sig Sauer P-series handguns, like the 226 and this one, the 228. But it was just too expensive. The SIGs were too expensive for widespread military use. And the Beretta's a great gun. I'm not talking smack on the Beretta. It's an awesome gun. It was the first handgun I actually ever shot. And I love it. I loved it and I still love it to this day. But, like I said, SIGs are too expensive, okay, for widespread military use. However, in 1988, this gun came out, or not exactly this gun, I'll get into that in a second, but the P228 came out, and it was adopted by Navy SEALs, Navy fighter pilots, US Secret Service, and various police forces across Europe and militaries in Europe. They love this gun, you know. They love their Sig Sauers in Europe. So, 2012, Sig Sauer announces this gun, and it gets some controversy. It gets hit with controversy right away. Okay, why? Well, the SIG fanboys, hardcore Sig Sauer fans, are saying it's not a real P228. And they're sort of right, and maybe they're completely right. It depends on how you want to look at it. But it's not the original P228. They are correct. Alright? The original P228, let's give you some history. It's German made, and it's got the stamped carbon steel slide, whereas this has a milled stainless steel slide. And correct me if I'm wrong, go ahead and leave a comment in the comment section, but I think that's because in Europe they can't use plus P rounds. I think they're banned in most parts of Europe. I could be completely wrong on that. And I think that's why the German-made SIGs are still made without the stainless steel slide. They're made with a stamped carbon steel slide to this day. I think that's why. But anyway, so the original P228 had the stamped slide. It had its own frame. This does not use the original P228 frame. It had its own magazines. This cannot use, the M11A1 cannot use P228 magazines. It also had a standard trigger. Okay, and there was also a military version called the M11, which had phosphate-coated internals and night sights. It was also made in Germany, but it had phosphate-coated internals and night sights, which this has. So come up to 2012, and M11A1 is announced in homage to the M11. The M11 was the military version of the P228. So people are saying, okay, come on, the P228 was the magnum opus of Sig Sauer. I love the 228. Just go on Gunbroker, wherever, and buy a used P228. You know, you save a couple $100. That's true. But some people said, hey, I can get a more heavy-duty slide. I can get the SRT trigger, which I'll get into. I can get night sights, and I can get a new gun for a couple $100 more. You know, and so it was to each his own. Some people were saying the P228 was better. It's more well balanced, and you know what? I've never shot a 228. I've held a 228, and they're probably right. The 228 was a little lighter. Not really, but slightly lighter. Do I care? Not really. And you know, like I said, they're cheaper. But you got to consider that an old P228 is going to have thousands of rounds through it. It's probably not going to have the SRT trigger. It's not going to have night sights. And if it has night sights, they're probably going to be dim. You know, it's probably going to be from the 90s or whatever. They're going to be from the 90s or early 2000s, you know. So people got pretty excited when this gun was announced. Most people were excited. I'm not saying all people were upset. Some people were upset. Most people were pretty excited for this gun because they saw, hey, that's pretty cool. Sig Sauer is doing a little throwback, and they're making a P228 again. You know, whether you want to call it a P228 or not, is up to you. Oh, and actually, I was just at SHOT Show, and if you visited the SIG booth, you saw that Sig Sauer was giving these out, right here, media kits. And on this USB flash drive media kit, they're actually not calling, as of this year I think, they're not calling this gun the P228 anymore. Because it was advertised as the 228 M11A1. Right here on the grips it says P228, okay? On here, they're saying it's the P229 M11. And why did that happen? Because people were complaining. And they said, you know what, fine. We're gonna give it to them. The frame's not the same. It's not the same as the old P228s. But whatever, you know, I come from the camp that says Sig Sauer can name their guns whatever they want. You know, Honda releases new cars every year, Ford, Chevy, whatever. You know, look at the Challenger, for example. Is that the same car that was driving around in the 70s? No, but they still have the right to call it the Challenger, you know? So anyway, some controversy, but fast forward a few years, I got this here in 2014, so fast forward a couple years, and people are giving this gun great reviews, rave reviews. People love it. It was released right alongside the P226 Mark 25. Has the same internals as the 226 Mark 25, which is what the Navy SEALs use, standard issue for them. And I love it. So let's get into the construction and how it operates. First, let's do a safety check. The magazine is unloaded, and firearm does not have a round chambered. Okay, it's good to go, clear. So construction on this gun, stainless steel slide. All right, this is going to be able to handle the plus P rounds, and in theory, it's going to outlast a P228 slide. Okay. So let's say you don't need that. Okay, fine, you don't need that. All right, you know. Oh, another note. It's got the SIG logo. Let's try to focus in here. It's got the SIG logo in laser engraved on the top, which I think is pretty cool. I like that. Some people might not like that, but I think that's pretty cool. You know, nice little touch they added. So yeah, in theory, this slide is going to hold up for more years than an old P228 slide would. It doesn't have a rail. Actually, this is what caught my eye. When I was flipping through one of the gun magazines, I saw an advertisement for this gun and I said, whoa, dude, that's cool. An old school looking Sig Sauer compact. They're bringing back the P228. Sweet. So, you know, I decided to get one. You know, that was maybe a couple years before I ended up getting this, but I always wanted to get one, so I did. It's got the UID label. Do you need that? No, of course. It serves no purpose for us civilians. That's more of a military thing. They'll use it in the armorers to check it in and out. They scan it in and out. Just a nice touch, you know. They left that on there. And it's got the short reset trigger and the short reach trigger. So SRT. SRT means two things for Sig Sauer: short reach trigger and short reset trigger. The short reach trigger, it was designed for people with shorter fingers, you know, that couldn't really reach the trigger as well. And I don't know why they threw that on. I guess they figured, you know, let's put as much stuff on it as we can. I like this trigger, the size of it, but I don't, you know, I'd probably do better with the classic SIG trigger, so I might change that out. And let's check out the short reset trigger again. This gun is unloaded. Okay, so SIG P series, they're all double action, single action. And so that means your first trigger pull, hammer fired, your first trigger pull is gonna be long and smooth. Okay, second shot, hammer's gonna be locked back. Okay, watch the reset right here. Right there, look at that, beautiful. Okay, love it. So a little bit of take up and then your second trigger pull, nice and crisp and clean right there. It's not a hair trigger, but it's a really nice trigger, and that's why people just fall in love with the SIGs, man. You know, HK, good trigger, not as good as a SIG, okay? So USP, you're gonna come up against this. Why do people tend to like the SIGs more? I mean, I think the SIGs are a little bit more popular than HK. I love HK too. I think SIGs are a little bit more popular, and people fall in love with them because of this. The trigger, barrel's great, you know, construction's great, all that stuff. but great trigger pull. And gosh, I don't know. I want to say, like, you know, it's one of the closest things I've gotten to a 1911 without being a 1911. But of course, there are custom guns out there. You know, I can't really rack my brain. I love this gun, and I don't know. It's great trigger pull. I think I think the single action trigger pull sits around 4 pounds, which is nothing really. You know, it's just like, oh man, I love it. I love shooting this gun. So this gun, you want to buy a used P228, it's going to be like $600. You don't get the short reset trigger. You know, that alone might be worth it. You get 3 magazines with this gun. You get, I think these are Metgar magazines. They're made in Italy. Really nice magazines, really expensive. And let's see, made in Italy, right? Where is it? Right there. Okay. And I actually bought this gun when Sig Sauer was having a rebate, so I could send in this little thing, and they sent me 2 more of these magazines. So I have 5. Sweet. Okay. What else? Siglite night sights. Nice and new, nice and bright. You know, these are actually, I think, banned in Europe because they're radioactive. Can't get these in Europe. So P228 did not have the night sights. And if the 228 had the night sights, I might have already mentioned this, but they're going to be a little dim, you know, because these dim over the years. You buy a 228 from the 90s or something, or early 2000s, and someone put night sights on it. They're going to be a little dim, so it's nice to have that. Okay. And 229 mags are actually, this takes 229, P229 mags. They're actually more readily available than P228 mags. So that's nice if you want to consider practicality. Ergonomics, this gun's great. I love this gun. You know, it's going to fit in a wide variety of hand sizes. I actually have, you know, I have larger hands, but I have skinnier fingers, so I don't have huge hands. And my hands love this gun. I think anyone is going to love this gun. My friend has pretty small hands, and he loves this gun. This gun works fine for him. Some people are not going to like this, which these classic SIG grips. Most people like them. I mean, they're not going to hate them. I've never heard of anyone hating those. But some people do prefer the E2 grips, and so they switch these out for the Sig Sauer E2 grips, which is always an option. I like both. Don't really have a preference. I think on these, I've seen M11A1s where people have switched them out for the E2 grips, and I don't think it looks as aesthetic. It doesn't, you know, it's not as aesthetically pleasing to the eye, I think, with the E2 grips. It's my personal opinion. It just looks a little, I think it looks a little weirder. I think these grips fit it better. What else? Great size gun. This gun is actually, you know, it's compact. It's actually on the larger spectrum of compact handguns. So it's nice. It can fulfill various roles. So what's the competition here? What's it going against? You know, like a Glock 19, some of the Springfield XD series. To each his own, you know. Some people might like the Glock. Some people might like polymer handguns. Whatever. You know, I got a review. I love the Glock too. I love all sorts of guns. I just like metal. I like the classic retro look. I like metal construction. Just feels great in the hands. Something about it, you know. I'm gonna choose metal every time. You maybe not every time, but you put me against polymer. You give me the option polymer versus metal. I'm gonna choose full metal construction. Okay. So you got some competition out there. You can read my review on my blog on the Glock 19 versus the M11A1. And no smack on the Glock, you know. I love the Glock. Okay, but I just prefer this gun, you know. Carrying it, I carry this gun. Conceal it. You know? Easy to conceal. Okay? The only thing is, double stack. You might not like double stack. You're gonna do better with a single stack, sure. You are gonna do a little better. You can carry this gun comfortably, conceal it, whatever. You got other options though. If if you're thinking it's gonna be too heavy, you want single stack, you got plenty of options out there. You know, start reading up, do your research. This might not be the gun for you if you're, you know, maybe a woman. If you're smaller size, smaller frame, you might not like carrying this gun. But overall, you know, take it to the range and, man, gosh, you know, like I said, the trigger's great, accuracy's great. I just fell in love with this gun. What I found in this gun versus the Glock 19 was that, you know, I've shot Glocks so many times that I already knew that the recoil is not as nice as a gun like a 1911 or this, in my opinion. I think that the recoil on this is a little more round. It's just more smooth. You know, just kind of, I found this gun it's round and smooth, bounces straight up, versus the Glock 19, which is like, it kind of like, I feel like it's kind of going diagonally, like a little bit up in the corners to the side, just barely, kind of more than this gun. I think it's because of the way the grips are and just the construction, not the construction, but the shape of it causes it to do that in my hands personally. But I do like the Glock triggers, so go do your research. You got the XD, you got the USPs, you got all sorts of crap. I mean, you can compare this to anything really. You can get, there are compact 1911s. So many guns out there nowadays, you know, guns are so popular. And guns, so hot right now, you know? Okay, really accurate, you know. Oh, let's check this out. Okay, field stripping the 22 or any P series. Field stripping this gun. Lock the slide back. Take down release lever right there. Okay, press down the slide release, pull back and forward. Why is it not coming off? Oh, derp, 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 derp. Magazine is still in. Not gonna come out. It's not gonna come off with the mag in, okay? So magazine's out. Twist that. Press on the slide release. Pull back and forward, okay? So check this out. That's what I was talking about earlier. Barrel. Come on, let's focus in. 9mm Sig P229. So there you go. Use the 229 barrel. Great barrel. Okay, you know, Sig makes great stuff. All their stuff's great. American made, German made, all quality stuff. Swiss made, even you get the Swiss rifles, incredible quality. It's a really accurate gun. You know, it was outperforming the Glock, outperforming the XD. But, you know, I will say, this isn't a review, you know, Glock versus Sig right now. But the Glocks are plenty accurate, you know. Is this worth $300 more for a little bit more accuracy? Up to you, your call, you know. Glocks are great, great practical accuracy. This gun, great practical accuracy. All right. So I really love this gun, you know. I kind of got the sickness, you know. I've always loved Sig Sauer, great guns. Big fan of Switzerland. If you ever go on my blog, you know, you'll read my review on this gun and know that, you know, I went to Switzerland, spent a month there once, and just kind of fell in love with the culture. It's a great place, and they make great stuff. You know, Rolex, Sig Sauer, whatever, you name it. Ricolas, love Ricola. You know, come on, who doesn't need a Ricola when you're sick? Swiss know how to get it done, okay? So, you know, Sig Sauer, not without getting into too much history, Swiss and German company, great quality stuff. If you haven't shot a Sig, try it out. The double action, single action trigger pull, as I was explaining earlier, takes some getting used to because it's not striker fired like the Glock. You're gonna have to really get used to this, you know? That double action trigger pull on the first pull, you know, no one's gonna carry it with a hammer back. That would be unsafe. You know, so get used to the double action trigger pull and see if you like it. Some people don't like two triggers. I'm used to it, whatever, to each his own, like I said. And that's about it. That wraps it up. And check it out, do your research, go fire a Sig if you haven't fired a Sig, borrow your friends, see if you like them. They're different, you know, they're more, I guess you could say, old school, you know, 80s, I think, you know, P228 was released in the 70s, but really an 80s, 90s gun. In the 2000s, striker fire became really popular, picked up popularity. I mean, even though Glock's been around for a while, people love striker fired. I think more people like striker fired than hammer fired, but I'm a little bit old school. And I like the hammer. I like my hammers, you know. So check it out. Do your research. See if it's the right fit for you. I hope you enjoyed the video. And you can check out my blog, groupcoalition.com, and on Instagram, @groupcoalition. Cheers.